Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. Today I'll be talking about players to pick up in fantasy hockey and the top 5 quarterbacks in fantasy football. Players to pick up in fantasy hockey. Marcus Johansson. Marcus Johansson is having a bounce-back year with the Buffalo Sabres, and is off to a great start to the season. Centering a line with Jeff Skinner and Vladimir Sobotka, Johansson has put up 3 goals and 5 points along with 1 power play point along with 18 face-off wins so far this season. Marcus Johansson could be a valuable player in a deep league because he is eligible to play both center and wing. Zach Aston Reese. Zach Aston Reese is a very valuable player to have in a deep league. Due to injuries to key players, the Penguins have to rely on the line of Zach Aston Reese, Teddy Bluger, and Brandon Tanev to play heavy minutes. Aston Reese has 2 goals and 4 points, along with 15 shots on goal, 20 hits, and 6 blocks so far this season, which is a really good fantasy stat line. Andrei Burakovsky. Andrei Burakovsky is off to a great start with the Colorado Avalanche and is a major reason why the Avs have a 5-1 record. Burakovsky has put up 2 goals and 5 points along with 2 game-winning goals so far this season. Burakovsky has fantasy value in most leagues because he has dual eligibility at left wing and right wing. Sean Walker. Sean Walker has been a pleasant surprise for the LA Kings so far this season. He has 2 goals, 4 points, 15 shots on goal, and is a +4 so far this season. Walker would be a good pickup in a deep league if you need scoring from defense. Brian Dumoulin. Brian Dumoulin isn't likely to be owned in standard leagues, but he could be a very valuable defenseman in a deep league. Dumoulin has 2 points, 10 shots on goal, 16 hits, and 8 blocks, and is a +6 so far this season. Dumoulin is a great defenseman to have in a league that counts hits and blocks. Jonas Korpisalo. Jonas Korpisalo is actually playing tremendous hockey for the Columbus Blue Jackets, but it's going unnoticed. Korpisalo has 3 wins, a 2.60 GAA, and a .903 save percentage so far this season. For a team not expected to do well, Korpisalo and the Blue Jackets are surpassing the expectations set for them. While Korpisalo is not by any means a fantasy stud, he could be a solid 3rd goalie in fantasy. Check out my fantasy sports blog at hockeywiztalksfantasy.blogspot.com. Check out my Facebook page at Mr. HockeyWiz777 and my Instagram, Mr. HockeyWiz77. Top 5 quarterbacks in fantasy football. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is arguably the best quarterback in real life, and he has also proven that he is the best quarterback in fantasy as well. Wilson has 1,704 passing yards and 14 passing touchdowns along with 151 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns so far this season, totaling 155.26 fantasy points. Despite proving year after year that he is a top 5 quarterback, he never truly gets the media attention that an elite quarterback typically gets. I think it's time for the media to start realizing the greatness of Russell Wilson, who makes the Seahawks a perennial contender. Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is one of the up-and-coming young quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and has already established himself as a top fantasy quarterback. Jackson has 1,507 passing yards and 11 passing touchdowns, along with 460 rushing yards and 2 rushing TDs, totaling 152.28 fantasy points so far this season. Because Lamar Jackson is a dual-threat quarterback, that makes him one of the best fantasy quarterbacks to own. Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is quickly establishing himself as the premier quarterback in fantasy football. Watson has 1,644 passing yards and 12 passing touchdowns along with 164 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns, totaling 152.16 fantasy points so far this season. Since Watson is one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the game, that also makes him one of the best fantasy quarterbacks right now. Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is possibly the best quarterback in the NFL right now and is one of the premier fantasy quarterbacks. Mahomes has 2,104 passing yards and 14 passing touchdowns, totaling 142.16 fantasy points so far this season. While Mahomes has been in a bit of a slump the last 2 weeks, there isn't any reason to panic because he should break out of the slump soon. Matt Ryan. Even though the Atlanta Falcons are a mess, Matt Ryan is playing like a top 5 fantasy quarterback. Ryan has 2,011 passing yards and 15 passing touchdowns, totaling 138.64 fantasy points so far this season. While Matt Ryan is not an elite quarterback in real life, he remains one of the premier fantasy quarterbacks. On my next podcast, I'll be talking about players to trade for in fantasy hockey and players to pick up in fantasy basketball.